Got a special one for you today, folks. We're going to be watching Blade Runner. I am not particularly thrilled about this, but I want good content for my goddamn show. So I'm gonna be watching this film and putting myself through some torture. I wouldn't call it torture. It's not that bad of a fucking movie. It's just not a good movie. I enjoyed Prospect so fucking much because it's like such a dialed down and chill sci-fi movie with interesting characters and actors that clearly wanted to be there, and not only wanted to be there but like excelled at their thespianism in a way where it elevates the performances and the like just everything about it. It's like a well-rounded film. Blade Runner: The Final Cut, which is the edition. There's 7 editions of this film since its original inception that have been released. I can't name all of them, but they all start with Blade Runner and end with me getting pissed. There's a couple that have the narration that you can audibly hear how annoyed fucking Harrison Ford is in, and I would be annoyed too. This film has so many fucking problems that it's like it's mind-blowing that it is as well regarded as it is. And like, I'm not going to sit here and try and knock it for being like not a good film. It has the skeleton of a good film. It has really good production design, more not only capable actors but actually like very good actors that should be suited for a sci-fi role. As such, and the only one that really gives a decent performance is the dude that everybody mispronounces his fucking name, and I'm thinking of Army Hammer right now, but it's a fucking German guy. The one robot guy with the muscles, that dude. He's the only one that fucking Rutger Howard, that guy. Yeah, Rucker Howard's the only one that like actually gives 110% in this film, and like. It's bad to me, and like I'm gonna get into this with Mark. The whole reason I'm doing this is because like I want a good content episode. Like I feel like I'm getting up there, and I should probably put one out where I have someone to bounce my ideas off of, because I do kind of feel like a crazy person half the time I'm doing this, like just talking into the abyss. And I think Mark, with his like kind of counterbalance, like we do balance each other out quite well with what we like and what we dislike, like because we meet on common ground, like certain obvious things we agree on, like the OG Star Wars trilogy, fucking agreeable. I love it. He is a huge fan of Star Wars, but he thinks that the prequels were all right, and he thinks that the sequels were fine, which I do not agree with. One of these days we'll get into that too. Maybe that's going to be the 100th episode, is us in a fucking 2-hour argument about the prequels. But yeah, no, we have a nice like counterbalance to each other, the yin to each other's yang, if you will, which is cool. And I want to provide the listener with at least like a little insight as to like the people that I went to. Well, let me get into Mark. Mark and I went to college, and he majored in, I think, marketing or fucking something that wasn't film. But he was the only person in my house that, well, maybe there was a few people in my house that I would talk to about movies, but he was the only one that I would like really be like, yeah, I fucking hate this for this reason. And for the most part, he would be like, all right, like I don't agree with you, but like I at least like understand it. And like when there would be like pretty spirited, enthusiastic debates going on about like why a movie's good or why a movie's better than another movie or whatever, like he would actually always have pretty good 2 cents. But sometimes he would just get drunk and dig his heels in. But for the most part, this is, since I've known him, been the sole, like the crux of our disagreement in film, like in where our tastes lie. Like he's the guy that changed my mind on Donnie Darko. I did not know that they released like a director's cut of Donnie Darko, and Mark was like, what didn't you like about it? I was like, it just kind of seems like a movie that chicks watch to make themselves cry. And he's like, yeah, it's that. It's definitely that. But yo, there's also this like whole other thing that kind of gets overshadowed by it, but you really got to be paying attention. And like, it's not like subtle, but it's like a little more dialed back than it actually presents itself with. And there's this like element of time travel that with the director's edition or director's cut of Donnie Darko, you kind of get into that. And Mark's like, no, watch it this way and then go watch the original cut again when you feel like it. And sure enough, he's fucking right. Like, it did elevate the plot a lot more, but you needed this kind of like just like subtle nudge that I wouldn't have like otherwise gone out and tried to like I wouldn't have made myself watch that twice if I didn't like it the first, like, but it makes more sense that way. And you know, for that, he also is the guy that turned me on to watching The Whitest Kids You Know, R.I.P. Trevor Moore, with the commentary. Like, you got to get the DVD box sets and fucking watch with the commentary on, because it's fucking hilarious. I think it's the first season of that. Sam Brown showed up late, so the four, Timmy, fucking Trevor, and the other two that look kind of vaguely similar, Scott and Alan. No, fucking, that was a bad one. Fucking, that was bad. That's terrible. But yeah, the other, for the four of them, just make fun of fucking Sam and yeah, it was pretty fucking funny. And then on the second season's DVD, Sam shows up an hour before everybody else, and they give him like 5 minutes to just be like, hey, fuck you guys for doing that to me last time. And that's pretty fucking, that's pretty funny. I would have never discovered that either if it wasn't for Mark. But what he really does is he balances me out, because I will be very staunch in my opinions on shit, and he will be very staunch on his opinions and shit. But like, because at least we're arguing, like, not like arguing for just like, because it's like, I don't like this, I don't like this. Like, I know he sent me pictures. He took fucking notes on Blade Runner, which means I'm gonna have to take goddamn notes on Blade Runner. I don't want to take notes on Blade Runner, but there's a few key things that I like always try to point at. Like, I'm not going into this watching it just to like hate it. I'm going into this to like try and like, you know, I'm giving it fresh eyes. It's been about like 2 years since I tried to watch this the last time. And I want to like at least give it like a shot before I cast my fucking judgment. But I've seen it so many fucking times where if like I'm gonna retread the same beats and get bored at the same fucking parts and just be completely uninterested in a lot of it, because I have the floor per se, because this is my podcast, I guess. I'm gonna invite Mark on. We're just gonna be debating the whole fucking time. I will point this out. Ridley Scott, capable director. All of the fucking art in this film, like the set design, the costumes, the fucking, like, everything about it visually is fantastic. There's two, and like I said, the actors are capable, but there's like 2 or 3 things in this film that, like, there's never a perfect equation of like setting plus capable, willing actor plus fucking like the story, like the narrative being interesting. Like those 3 things are kind of like what, it's not the triangle of truth, but like it is to a certain extent like necessary to have like a, you know, something interesting to look at, a character that you give a shit about and what they're getting into, the who, the what, the where, you know, like just all of that stuff you need to make like a scene interesting. But it's like always falling short by like one, if not both, 2 of those elements in given scenes. Like the one where it's meme worthy, it's been memed to death, and this was before like memes were like a fucking, you know, like a common term, is Harrison Ford with the fucking enhance. Like that fucking scene drags on for, I'll time it, I think it's like probably 7 minutes long. And it's just for him to figure out that somebody took the fucking photo. I know there's more to it than that. I know I'm oversimplifying it, but god damn, it's so fucking boring if it was like slightly shorter or just like done in a way where it was more interesting. But it's like watching someone, when you don't, like, you're me, and I don't like texting on my phone if I have company or I'm around people. I like observing the room and kind of figuring out what's going on. But it would be like somebody pulling their phone out while they're having a conversation with you, and you just are trying to like get through to them, but like all they're doing is preoccupied with their phone. That is this film, like the fucking enhanced scene. That's what this feels like. But I'm not gonna sit here and try and pick apart the logic of it. I'm gonna watch this movie, and then Mark and I are gonna fucking talk about it. So I really regret doing this, but this is for your fucking entertainment. Without further ado, we're watching Blade Runner. Alright, so this is going to be a fucking weird one, because I normally don't have people that aren't in the room with me talking on mic, but this is a first for me. I tried to set them up on the P4 pod track bullshit that I record on, and it didn't work, so you're just going to have to suffer through it this way. Mark Gould, ladies and gentlemen, is the guest of honor tonight. How you doing tonight, Mark?
I'm doing good. I went out to dinner. Excited to kind of relive old arguments and talk about this movie.
Oh yeah, this is gonna get good.
No, I think it's definitely, I think we've both matured with age, and it's not the basement of college anymore. So I think we can have a better discussion about this for 10 minutes until it dissolves to madness.
Yeah, until we absolutely start yelling at each other. So I set it up in the beginning because I do a pre-roll for this, but Mark and I were college roommates. We went to Hofstra University, and I studied film. Mark, I know you studied marketing at one point, but what did you end up settling on? Marketing? Oh, right on. Okay, so I did remember correctly.
We both have useless degrees, Joe.
Absolutely. Like, I've worked on movies, and I know how fucking useless it is. That's why
I sort of do marketing now, and it's useless.
Did man just trip over the cat?
I don't know what happened in there.
All right. Where are you at, by the way? Are you at your parents' house or are you at the apartment?
No, I'm home.
You want to... Hey, what's going on, man?
I'm home.
Right on. So yeah, Mark and I were it's just like we're back in the basement. This is honestly
that was a lot. Sorry.
No, you're fine, buddy. This is already like one of the most futile podcasts that I do because it's just.
You have me literally on a phone propped up to your microphone.
Hell yeah!
Like I'm some kind of spaceman from the future.
You are a spaceman from the future, which ties greatly into this movie that we're about to fucking dive on.
See what I did there, Joe?
I see that segue happen, man. I
segued like a fucking pro.
You do. You
curse on this, right?
Oh yeah, you can say whatever you fucking want.
I don't want to try to censor myself.
Yeah, we don't have. This is like one of the things that when you were doing your radio show, I was really bummed out that we were. Oh, which by the way, one of these days we need to go back and. Is there something hissing on your end?
It's probably a faucet.
All right. So we're so we were in college, and one of the fun points of living at 109, despite it being a terrible fucking place to be in general, was that me and you would discuss movies. We'd watch a shit ton of movies, and we generally reached a pretty equal consensus on most films that we watched.
Yeah, even though you were more at the time, I tried to be I always was I guess a self-proclaimed film buff kind of guy, and just would had a natural inclination to observe more technical sides of it. So it was always just cool talking to you about filming techniques, directors, writing, acting, and stuff like that, even though I had no idea what I was talking about.
No, you know what? But you were you were very astute in it, because at least you showed me. Hi, Amanda.
We're back on. It's live. This is live. I love it.
This is going great. No, we're killing it. Dude, we've been killing it with the fucking soundboard too. We got a soundboard for the podcast Jake and I do, and we have all the O and A drops. So we have "This is going great" and "Boo."
Sorry. So no, it was always kind of sometimes when you talk about movies, at least I do. I feel like I'm screaming into the void and no one knows what the fuck I'm talking about. So talking to you was always interesting. Even if we didn't agree, it was always he's coming from it with a very logical, technical point of view. So even if I don't agree with it, it's I can at least understand the logic and the reason behind what he's saying.
And yeah, like that's the one thing too. You didn't like hold it like too hard against me when I was like getting film schooly, because like I think the one where we were really having a fucking a hard time like seeing eye to eye on was Room 3, the fucking Shining documentary where
I mean, I thought we were in agreement that it's one of the worst things ever made.
Yeah, no. It is one of the worst things ever made, but we were in disagreement because I was like, no, you don't understand. These dudes like write books where they believe everything that they say in what their little fucking segment is, and they write novels and become doctorates of film based on this.
Doctorates of bullshit.
Precisely.
It's a mess. If you look at the poster, it's clearly a minotaur.
If you
it's a guy skiing in a ski resort.
If you notice the pile of luggage in the beginning and the juxtaposition with the Calumet Indian, it really represents the slaughter of Native Americans, which like is a theme, but the guy comparing it to the Holocaust is like completely out to fucking lunch. We already are off topic, but
no, this is the pre-conversation.
This is the pre-conversation.
Yeah, this is this is what Joe Rogan does. This is when you bullshit.
This is the teaser.
And then you talk. Yeah, exactly.
But no, I think what I was like getting at was just that like I'm like desensitized to the bullshit that like a lot of film theorists like I have to carry it with me and take it with a grain of salt, because that was ultimately what I studied. But like I can see through a lot of it, and I won't like have any problems about calling something that's not good, or like something that is good great, or however I have to like contextualize it. It's one of those weird catch-22s where like you were just like, this is fucking stupid, and I'm like, yeah, it's stupid, but these are like published authors, and I think that was like the point of contention. But
yeah, and I was just like, no, it's stupid. I don't care. I can get published right now if I wanted to.
Yeah, what would you write a book about right now?
Fuck, you put me on the spot. I don't know.
Magic the Gathering?
Hell yeah. It'd be written in crayon, though.
That's a pretty good one. All right. Yeah, so the one film that me and you have never been able to see eye to eye on, and like you said in the beginning, we've matured. We're about 10 years out from arguing. Yeah, dude, right? Like we're getting fucking old. But fucking we're like 10 years out from college when we initially kind of began this debate, and it's since spanned pretty much the entirety of our friendship since we.
I feel like every once a year it pops up like some kind of mini argument about the movie.
Yeah, and I think where I finally kind of gave a little bit was when Denis Villeneuve undertook the sequel, Blade Runner 2049, which I was going to
say we didn't mention what the movie is we're actually talking about.
Oh yeah, it's the original Blade Runner. I watched the.
That's what we're arguing about. The Blade Runner.
Original Blade Runner. I watched the final cut, which I'm not sure which edition.
I think I said I ended up watching the final cut with the version that's on Netflix, which is, I believe, widely considered like the definitive version. That there was the theatrical cut, which had a lot of like studio bullshit added. The director's cut, which had a lot of stupid director shit added. And then the final cut where I think both sides came together was like, listen, this is probably the best it's going to be.
I think it was a very heavily compromised movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and you were like, I fucking hate it. It's boring. Film noir is stupid.
I mean,
all these things don't make sense.
I mean,
I'm just shortening it for like our little intro.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's fair. It's not that I think film noirs are stupid. I think film noirs need to have like a certain je ne sais quoi if you're going to put them in Spaceland. And I've always had that problem with this movie where it's like the story is supposed to be futuristic, but it's like kind of like reveling.
It's very set in like an older style of story.
Yeah,
with sci-fi bullshit peppered in.
But that was so like with the final cut. One of the things that I like upon and actually like let's start with this. You haven't watched. I don't know how long it's been since you watched it, but this was the first time I watched it in about like 4 years. And my initial reaction to it was just, Yeah, it's not as bad as I remember it. I think it's like, you know, it eases with time. But I think the whole purpose of this movie is something about like it's like a metaphor for like aging and time being like a limited, finite, like what do they call it? A diminishing investment, or your returns are diminishing on your investment. So like that's kind of an overarching theme, and I think it's like this film gets easier with time, but I'm not sure if that's like the way it's supposed to be interpreted.
See, like to me, the biggest theme that always gets across is like, what is human? Like, what is it to be human? I know that's like the book that it was heavily inspired by. What is it? I wrote it down because I always fuck it up.
I know it's Philip K. Dick. I know that much.
Say it again?
I know that Philip K. Dick wrote it.
Yes. Do electric sheep have dreams? Whatever it is, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that shit.
I should have had it ready to go, but now I feel stupid. Like that was the book. It was the original book. Was like it was, you know, like a society thing. Was all these like artificially created animals, and is that a real animal versus like, you know, is a replicant a real human? Even it's built in a lab, it's born in a lab, it has, you know, feeling. Well, the newer models, the Nexus 6s have emotions, and then it's all kind of summed up in like the one line in the sequel where he's like giving the scotch to the dog, and Ryan Gosling's like, "Is that dog real?" He's like, "I don't know. Why don't you ask him?" So like I felt like that was like that's the original Blade Runner. It was, what is human? Where is, well, you're not, you're like, you know, computer. Again, it was in
86, 85, I think.
85, and then, you know, now where computers are even more advanced, where it's like, well, where's the blurred line of what's, you know, real intelligence or human?
Yeah, like the humanity aspect, I think, just with aging and like kind of being more desensitized, like to a lot of the artifice and stuff I had problems with this movie. The humanistic element definitely is like, I saw your notes where you were just like, symbolism is kind of bludgeoned over your head in this.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, it was like all the whenever you see like, you think you're really fucking cool and edgy when you pick up on it.
Yeah.
Symbolism in movies. And now that I'm 30 and I was watching it, I'm like, do you get it?
Yeah.
Is it obvious? Do you get it? What I wrote it down was like, when the stripper, the Nexus model, is like, she's killed like around a bunch of like mannequins. Like, so lifeless dolls. Yeah. And she's lifeless. And I was just like, do you get it? She's a doll.
I like the question too. Like, it's not like quite as on the nose, but like immediately before that, when he figures out the scale on the snake is like from a replicant snake,
yeah.
And he like gives her this like little like, it's that weird back and forth going on in the dressing room of a strip club where he's pretending like he's looking for peepholes or whatever, and
doing a very weird voice.
Oh my fucking! The whole fucking you can.
You'd be surprised what a guy would do to look at a pretty lady.
I don't know what accent he's supposed to be doing. I think it's Chicago, right? Like,
sorry to interrupt with a weird tangent about a Harrison Ford decision.
No, Harrison Ford decisions are the thing that I think kept this from being like an entirely unintelligible movie, which is why I'm like, I'm very lenient to like also judge it, knowing as much as I do now about how much he hated being on the set and like hated everything about Ridley Scott's like directing capacity, and how much he hated the female lead. I know her name's like Tyler or something, the Rachel chick. So there's like a lot of like leeway that upon aging and having like now worked on movies and understanding what working for crazy fucking people is like, in one of these, I'm like, wow, this film is a lot more fucking coherent than I originally gave it credit for. So like, it's kind of, like that's kind of elevated it for me, but like, I still have a couple of qualms, and like I identify the pitfalls a little bit harder. Like right off the fucking bat, one of the ones is that like, this is going somewhere. Like I'm going somewhere with this. Like I'm not just like,
I'll let you go.
I'm not like wildly speculating.
Take me on a journey, man.
So like my original qualm with it was that, like, if they're robots, they're clear, like, they're supposed to be like slave labor, obviously.
Yeah.
So, like, why would you give it sentience, A, and then why would you give it, like, not some discerning thing that's, like, identifiable, like pronounced, but but now, like, having the context of, like, not only this, like, with older eyes and then Blade Runner 2049, I understand a little bit more of the motive is not necessarily, like, creating something that has necessary obsolescence. It's, like, it's a little heavy-handed with the metaphor, but you want to make something that is as close to life as possible, but you cannot play God. And it's like,
exactly.
that like, it's revelatory, and like it elevates it a little bit more. But I think like where it was bogged down before was like the heavy-handedness of like, oh, do you get it? They want to be human. They're never going to be human, but they want it. That's all they want. And it's like, you don't have like opportunities to just explore this in other ways. But then, like, you know, like I said, I aged and I kind of get it now.
And
Like,
then I actually wrote that down, that one of the, depending on who you're asking, me personally, I like that at no point in time in the movie do they show you, like, they always mention off-world.
yeah.
Like, and that's like, and then in like the voiceover work that, going back to Harrison Ford hating it, like they brought him in the original theatrical, they brought Harrison Ford back in to do narration, like noir-style narration.
Yeah.
And he fucking hated it, and he's just like, I think there are reports that he showed up drunk for a couple of the sessions.
I think he got into a screaming match with Ridley Scott in the middle of one too about his lines.
Like he didn't want to do it. Like he was done with the movie and he thought it was stupid. But yeah, so they always mention like off-world and like it's your ticket off-world, and all these like Nexus 6 miles are used off-world for like military use or slave labor, sex labor, and you never see it. And I kind of like that they just leave it up to your imagination as what life outside of, you know, the city is in the futuristic world of 2019 or whatever it was supposed to be.
2017.
Yeah,
I think.
No, it's 2019.
Fuck. Okay.
The far distant future of 2019. Yeah, so like you never see it. So like it's left up to your imagination of like how bad it is out there, and then that, you know, what these, you know, the replicants are being used for.
That's like an interesting take too, because another thing is like it's very overwhelming almost, like the amount of detail that goes into the set design in this, like, and knowing like how much it takes to make miniatures and like how much it takes to dress a set and make things like look the way they do. Like I was at first, like I was very dismissive of it because it's so limitedly used, but it's used like I think also like it's used very intelligently. And when
the
you have,
you mean?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. The miniatures, you mean?
Oh, yeah. Like the so like, you know how it like opens with like this big like cityscape of LA.
And like the Tyrell building. I just want to make sure I was still following you.
Yeah, like the
Sorry to interrupt.
so like no, there's like these like very like elaborate and like grandiose sets that they built are like so sparingly used. And like there are larger sets, obviously, like a lot of like the LA streets and stuff are very large sets, and like a lot of detail oriented you know, scenes and cuts are kind of created and birthed, I guess, from like that one fight scene right after he shoots the stripper. Like that's like kind of in like a tight space, but I was just admiring like how much is actually going on during that fight sequence, even though it's like between two parked cars and like on a street, like in an alley. Like there's still like so much visually going on. There's like such like an astute attention to detail that was paid to it. I was always just bummed that like you didn't get to explore more of the sci-fi elements, you know, like they weren't in the car more. And then you know, then again, like watching 2049, you kind of get that. You get a lot more exploration of these big, like open spaces. But then you realize, actually, the story being a little more tight knit is a little more of a saving grace, I guess, for the original Blade Runner.
Exactly.
Like,
and then kind of go like just to like circle back, like with the miniatures. Like again, I'm watching it like, you know, it's on Netflix and everything, but like. It's still, to me, like, maybe, I don't know if you feel the same, but, like, I feel like the miniatures still really holds up. Like, it still looks amazing.
It very much does.
For a movie that came out, 40 years now? Something like that? 50?
Yeah, you know, it's like coming up on, like, 37, I think. 30, something to the effect of, wait, no.
1982.
Okay, so 39 years, yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, like, I still the miniatures hold up really well. It's not so some of like the scenes you could tell like, oh, well, that's digitally, up-res and things like that. I don't know. Like, do you agree that like for a movie that came out in 1982, and to get re-released digitally and like touched up, still looks really good.
No. Like, not even an argument. Yeah, there's like I said, I think it was just like the lack of utilizing that like scenery and stuff for like more like space kind of like because it is a noir. You're expecting it to be kind of like a shootout or like some kind of car chase to happen, which never like happens. It's all like kind of like foot pursuits and like very like dialed back in the violence department. But like the detail of it is like it's mind blowing seeing it like in like HD too. Like I don't think they had the capacity to even like think about like what HD televisions would look like when this was played on them like at this point in time. But it does like it holds up and actually like blows a lot of things out of the water. Like especially in an era, and I've like this has kind of been a theme on this podcast is just like me griping about like the overuse of CGI for obvious reasons and like chroma key. And like just how they're making like 3D like there's like that thing they invented for the Mandalorian, which is actually like very cool. The 360 degree green screen. That's like a very interesting thing. But like all of this being said, it's like this was done with practical effects, and when you put the time and effort in, it really does show. And you cannot argue that this movie does not look phenomenal. And
there's a couple times like I remember seeing like when he's on the stakeout, and there's like a police car that's flying, and you see it like raise. It's like that's probably as cheap as the movie looks. That and when the Leon, the replicant, like the big dumb guy, he gets shot in the head. It's very like it looks very like I don't know, like how they make like he gets shot in the head in the face with like the back, so it's like the bullet exit, and it's very like. It looks like it's made out of Play-Doh or something.
Yeah.
Like those were really the only two instances in the movie that I can recall where it's like that looks like if this was done today with modern digital effects, like that's where you would see it elevated. But like the scenery, like when they're in the city and it's very Metropolis, I think is the movie that was like they used like the scenery as like the inspiration. Like that looks great. All like the cars flying around still looks really good. Like on the whole, the movie still like looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's like not even like fathomable like the manpower that like it would take to like replicate something like this, like and to make it like up to a like Star Wars like level of action standard because of how much detail went into it. So like I understand more of it now and think that there's like no argument that every little bit of like minuscule detail was like paid attention to, and I love that about it. I think that's really and that is like it's probably like if not the strongest suit, it's one of the strongest like aspects of this film that it has going for it, because there is like a thing about like noir that I always found very interesting, like especially when you watch things like Chinatown's like a really good one, but there's also like the fucking A Touch of Madness is always the one that's like usually referenced when it's like the staple noir, A Touch of Darkness, the Alfred Hitchcock movie, because it was like one of the first films to use that lighting that they do, the chiaroscuro lighting where your face is obscured. I would say that it relied a little bit too heavy on me, because like it's not that I dislike noir, I just think that noir kind of has its like time and its place, and if you like try to replicate it nowadays, it's just like you're beating a dead horse from a forgotten era. And
it's very like Tips Fedora, I'm not making a Marvel movie, I'm making a noir film.
Dude, you gotta like I will gladly like side note this just to put it out there. If you haven't seen it, one of the movies I worked on is on Netflix. It's called Grand Isle. And it's supposed to be like in the esteem of a noir. Like first off, it has Kelsey Grammer as a Southern sheriff, so it's just a fat fucking Kelsey Grammer going, "Oh, say we gotta come and lock up this boy if he's gonna be planning on murdering any more people." And it's like, Fraser, shut up! Like they had to keep me.
Like keeping it on like is it when it comes to like noir? Is it the style of the storytelling, or are we talking about like the filmography?
No,
cinematography, I should say, style.
It's not necessarily that. It's a lot of combined factors. All I was getting at with the Grand Isle thing was that was a noir and it was made in 2018, and it just like it does not have any essence of like noirism. It was just trying so hard to be one. And like it just doesn't translate nowadays. What I was so like modern noir, if it encapsulates something where you can kind of like give it a little leeway in some department, like in this case, ultimately it is a sci-fi film. It's about a kind of like a rogue sheriff dude hunting space prostitutes and strong men that are like dissidents. Like kind of, it's like got like a little touch of that, a little touch of like Western in it in certain facets. Like because he does, I don't know if you noticed, he uses a 6-shooter. Like even though it's like
sort of, yeah, it's kind of like his Blade Runner gun.
Yeah, it was a Ruger I looked this up too, but yeah, they just put like plastic housing on it so that it looked like more futuristic. But like I kind of saw that as like a nod to both like the noir as well as like kind of like the older like Western things, because he never really duels with it, but there are like the elements of the replicants like holding guns and stuff where you do have to kind of be like keen to your surroundings, and that kind of gave me like a Western vibe, and like some of the lighting and stuff. But that also is this like very noir influence. But like I just think that like noir is like something that had its time and place, and like the 80s wasn't it, even though like I've kind of come around on this film and like I didn't hate it as much as I did. There's like it just like kind of feels like this could have been like a cool sci-fi movie, or like maybe like a tip of the hat to an actual noir movie, but like because it's based on like a book, I get how it kind of is like it's necessary to take place in this exact setting in this exact way. So like I don't have a problem with it, but I don't like when people try to replicate noir, because noir is like its own thing, and I respect that. It's not that I need it distinct either. Just it's like a minor like nitpickings, because it's like if it's not fucking Humphrey Bogart in the fucking movie, like what do I fucking care about? Like Harrison Ford not giving a shit. Like I don't like
it's not enough sci-fi for you. I mean it's a sci-fi movie first, noir film second.
Yeah.
I feel like a dickhead saying a sci-fi movie and then a noir film. I don't know why. But yeah, I agree where it's hard to do modern noir or meshing of noir into something else, and every now and then it itches that little part of my brain that I'm like, this is perfect. This is like your Blade Runners, and then very similar. I've begged you to try to watch it, like Cowboy Bebop, which not the show that's going to be on Netflix. That's a whole nother rant. I'll make a podcast
dude,
and rant about that.
We could totally, if you come down here, like you're more than welcome to come on this anytime. We can just debate movies.
I feel like that's what they're gonna like when that anime came out. It was very like it's very similar to like Blade Runner in that sense, where it's mesh of sci-fi noir. I think that's what the show's going to be. It's going to be exactly what you're saying. It's going to be just shoving noir-esque style into it and miss out on like everything else that takes the other pieces that makes that puzzle all together work.
Yeah, like I think I've already told you about this, but like Yussel made me watch Akira, and that I think does a great blend of it, because it's like it's not like trying too hard to be a noir. It feels very like comfortable in the environment, but the noir elements just kind of amplify the general madness, and you don't really get too much like exponential madness in noir films that aren't like dialed back. Like there's usually like a red herring or like a ticking bomb, or somebody's like got to get medicine or something, but it's like in Akira it's like so well balanced that it never feels overwhelmed.
It's peppered in, like to me, like Akira is very much like that's a sci-fi. That's a really good sci-fi movie with like subtle little bits of noir style-y. But yeah, I don't want to go down the anime hole.
We're not going down the anime hole.
Yeah, I don't want to go down the anime hole. So, do we want to just keep talking about mostly like the production kind of stuff, or do you want to shift over? I feel like it was always the story, that like set you off, and that really like diverged our thoughts on the film.
Yeah, not necessarily the story, because the story itself is like, and I've like read up on the book, like I read the Wikipedia on the actual book, and like I get like exactly what now I kind of have a better framework, because it's not anything really like this, but it is in a certain way. It's like you could tell that it's the source material for Blade Runner.
It was, sorry, I had to correct it is Do Robots Dream of Electric Sheep. I knew it. I wrote it down, but I didn't want to get lost in my notes looking for it. So I just did old Google. Yes, the book that Blade Runner is, I don't know if it's inspired by or basically an interpretation of, is Do Robots Dream of Electric Sheep. I apologize. Go on.
You're fine. That's like having a little more context to like now having the film as like its own thing and like understanding and identifying what my flaws are. It's like the logic of the film at certain like points, it makes very calculated, but albeit like very illogical leaps, and that's what I get hung up on more than anything else. And like I'm happy that we spent like, we're at 30 minutes right now, so we got the entire second half of this to completely like just bicker about this. But okay, let's start from scratch.
Yes.
First 5 minutes of the movie is
real quick, sorry.
No, you're good.
I was going to say, are we going to like quick rundown of what the story is for anybody who might not have seen this movie?
This is one of those podcasts where like the first half is like you listen to this part before you watch it, so everybody should have seen it by this point if they cared to.
If you haven't, watch the fucking movie.
Yeah, just watch it. It's on fucking Netflix.
It's a goddamn classic.
It is a classic.
All right, sorry.
So like in the first 5 minutes, that replicant, the dude that kind of looks like Farva, you said
Leon.
Yeah, Leon.
Yeah.
Leon is getting the test done where they the test is like identifying. So I'm already captivated because you have this big cityscape that's this big sweeping intro with the title crawl and everything, and you're introduced to this like dark and gloomy setting and everything, and it sets it up very well. And then like you're just kind of smashed into this like room where after seeing like all this like very elaborate architecture and stuff going on outside, you're crammed in this room. So it's like the tension already has like mounted a little bit more. You're already aware that this is a tense, hostile situation, and one of these parties probably isn't going to leave the room. And it goes as logically as you can. And I have no problem with that up until fucking Leon pulls out a gun and just blows the guy, not only blows him away, but blows him clean through a fucking wall. Yeah, like, how the fuck does a wall through PPK fucking blow someone through a wall? Like, it's like...
it's the future, Joe, of 2019. You don't know what kind of firepower they're going to have in the future of 2019.
It's just, like, how did he even get a...
Like, your biggest problem is, like, how did this guy get this firearm into the police station?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like okay, they aren't able to identify something that is a robot. Like, it's like a robot wearing human skin. You can't figure out which one's the fucking robot off the bat, so we're already behind the fucking 8 ball on that. But then you got, like, a guy that somehow manages to, like, cheek a fucking Walther in. Like, how... Okay, what kind of fucking police operation are they running in L.A.?
I will agree that it is a little... I will stop you on saying that it's a robot in human skin. That's the whole point. It's that they are artificially created humans.
I know, I understand that. I was saying that for, like, trying...
It's not like if you pull their skin off, they have, like, the Terminator skeleton hand under there.
That should have done that, though. That would make more sense. You'd be able to tell them.
I will concede that. How does Leon sneak a gun into the police station? Also, but you do never see him get arrested, so you don't know if he was actually ever arrested. He could have just, like, walked in.
I think I'm fairly certain that, like, the backstory is that he was, like, just at work, which is why he's in that, like, smock thing. Like, cause
exactly. So he could have had it on him, and they were like, "Hey, we just want to talk to you." It might not be in a police station. It might be in an office at his job. Yeah, like, so, like, they do show that, like, Deckard brings, like, his void comp tester machine, which is the test that they do, the void comp test.
Yes.
And he brings it with him, like, in a little briefcase. So it could just be this guy who was a different Blade Runner, like, came in and said, like, "Hey, Leon, just want to, bring you in here and talk to you. No big deal." And he had his on him the whole time. I'm just trying to...
No. So, they're like, that's, like, a very minor nitpick, but I think it illustrates, like, police incompetence, like, throughout, which is kind of why... I have a theory that I wanted to, like, explore with you, that I think they not only does, like, Edward James Olmos, like, not know at the beginning of the film, like, he knows that, like, clearly he gets summoned to get Harrison Ford while he's eating sushi, and he knows he's a Blade Runner because he has to go get him, and it tells the one Japanese gentleman to tell him, "You're a Blade Runner." So they're, like, he's aware that he's a Blade Runner, but I think that just, like, this is a film that's, like, also about police ineptitude, because I don't think Edward James Olmos knew that he might have been a replicant, or at least that they were like, it's questionable that he's a replicant up until, Yeah, Harrison Ford. Yeah.
So I think we should put a pin in the whole Harrison Ford thing. I'm down to go down that rabbit hole. But again, that's a whole debate in and of itself.
Well, it's just that's like, yeah, well, that's just like the logic of the movie because, well, like, and also that's like also production incompetence because there's like 8, I think we looked it up, 7 versions of this movie,
yeah,
where he is and then he isn't.
So let's side tangent on that. Where I believe the original cut, it's pretty clear Deckard is not a replicant. Then in the director's cut, Ridley Scott added a scene of like a unicorn dream, which was a deleted takeout scene from some other fucking movie he was working on, like a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
So they added that in. They added in things to, like, because when at the end of the movie when he finds like the little origami unicorn.
Yeah.
They already established that Edward James Olmos just makes origami things.
Yeah.
So it's in the context of, if you're looking at it in the original cut, Deckard finds the origami. Oh, he knows I'm here. He's giving me a head start because whatever. He's just letting me out with Rachel to leave.
Right.
Splice in Unicorn Dream throughout the movie, plus some other like overdubs. Well, now it implies that he's a replicant. And people were like, what the fuck? So then they kind of dialed it back in the final cut. So, and then in 2049, they explored a little bit more where it's like, is he? Is he's not? And then in the end, the point is, does it matter?
Yeah.
So I will put a pin in, like, that's why I was saying, let's just put a pin in, like, if he knows he's a replicant or not. Because that's, like I said, in and of itself, that's a whole other rabbit hole. I don't want to get stuck down.
Well, just I think that in like at least like the final cut, because the final cut like does a pretty definitive job of like leaving
I still think the final cut leaves it open for him being one.
Yeah, but like it gives it just enough ambiguity where you kind like. But this kind of leads me to like the police incompetence thing, because I think that Edward James Olmos figures out that he's at least questionable. Like he knows that he's a Blade Runner, but if there's a Blade Runner that is a
Blade Runner, so he knows he's a Blade Runner. That's like his job.
Yeah,
it's a replicant.
Yeah, well, no. I mean that he's a Blade Runner that isn't aware he's a replicant. So it's like a Blade Runner designed to be like unaware. But I think that Edward James Olmos, in theory, could have gotten to it first and like figured out that he is at least like suspect for being a replicant before Harrison Ford has a chance to kind of like play with Rachel's mind a little bit and then learn about himself, you know, because that interplay is like expository, and it's like, that's not the logic of the film as much as it's just like brutal exposition kind of pounding you over the head. But like I said, it gets easier with age. At least they're like knowing they hated each other in real life, Harrison Ford and that actress. It's like, it kind of makes that dialogue even more awkward, and I kind of paid attention more.
I am in the camp that him being a replicant ruins the idea of like Deckard being human, Rachel being a replicant, and the two of them falling in love and being like, she's a human. As far as I'm concerned, she's a human. So like making him a replicant and doesn't know it, I don't know. I think that mumbo jumbo's the movie.
It convolutes it.
Yeah. I get it. I don't like it. I think the final cut does still leave it open to be like, I don't know, maybe. But let's move on. Let's not stay down the replicant rabbit hole.
No, okay. So moving on from there, he does so the enhanced scene and like the subsequent investigation. That's like a lot of fun. But there's a lot of like flaws in logic in his police work where you're wondering I get like the enhanced scene as itself, and I get the snake skin, the snake, like the scale from the snake. I get that scene as well. But like, have you ever found it like weird that it's like he just kind of like puts everything together the way he does without being like, oh, why don't I just go to that part of town where there's people like with this shit? Like, because it seems like all the replicants hang out at this replicant club, right? Like, or not like, replicants hang out at the replicant club, but like everybody seems to be in like an isolated part of downtown. Like, doesn't it seem like a leap in logic that if like the fucking surly dude was waiting there to beat him up, and shit. He could have just like made himself known, like what I'm trying to get at is like the whole fucking scene where he's chasing the chick around in the strip, like in the dressing room of the strip club.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not really sufficient evidence to get you there, but then like he does it anyway. But if he was just going to do that anyway, like why did you need the whole like enhance scene and shit? Like, I know.
I think it's a little bit just like a sci-fi mumbo jumbo thing where like, oh, he gets this picture. Okay, I'm looking at the picture and it's like, well, look in the future, they can analyze things like this way and you can like zoom in, it's super clear and shift the picture, which doesn't make any sense when you think about it. Like,
dude, like I know that's just.
like in my mind, it was like I don't know, it's a sci-fi. That was more like a sci-fi meets noir, where it's like, oh, he's doing his detective work and he's looking through the files and
or no, you would have like hired the photographer guy that he has on staff to keep blowing up the same picture over and over.
Like in 19 whatever, it would have been him in the dark room and he's looking at the thing and he's blowing up and he's like, huh, would you look at that? Yeah. He was like, hey, we got a stripper.
Yeah, like so. We got one of those hussies from down the docks.
We got one of them downtown hussies with their snakes.
Yeah, she's sucking off all the sailors coming into town.
To investigate that. Yeah, so is it a little drawn out? Yeah, you could probably trim that whole thing down a little bit, but like to me, the whole enhancing is just like a sci-fi take on like a noir staple. Like it's in your noir film, you'd have to have him investigating and doing like looking at the files and the pictures. So in your sci-fi version, it's him enhanced.
Yeah, I just like I said, that's like it's not really like illogical. It just is one of those like leaps and bounds to me where it's like, is this police work or is this just like purely sci-fi masturbation?
I think it's that, and then if you were to like, I thought about it like if you're in going back to like the whole is he a replicant thing. If it's in the mind of like he's a replicant, he knows to do these things because his brain is essentially a computer.
Yeah.
So it operates a little differently, and they kind of do that in 2049, where Ryan Gosling is a replicant. It is out there. It's 100% he is. So he's doing like they do it like an enhancing, and he kind of maybe has like better vision and kind of sees like a little thing that's not right because again he's a genetically enhanced test tube baby robot man.
Well, it's like a Ziploc bag that craps out hot chicks, which is kind of like, I mean, I'm cool with that. That whole scene was really fascinating, just like on a cinematic level, because like Denis Villeneuve really shot the shit out of it in a way.
Yeah, and I think that also like where it's it's like you said like about like being God. It's like that's really hammered in the sequel where Jared Leto says like, no, I want to be God and create a human, and anything less than like. In his mind is like a real human is not there, and that's why he hasn't achieved, the same level as the he's not a villain, the scientist in the original.
Fucking Tyrell. Yeah,
Tyrell, which again, some people think is. I'm just saying, some people have like it's like a sister company or like a competitor, like Alien, the Weyland Yutani or something like that. Side tangent.
I mean, they were both Scott films. Ridley Scott does like to incorporate a lot of things, as you can see with Alien vs. Predator sequels.
Kind of like, I know we're kind of talking about like the more of the storyline right now, but I do really just touch on like I really like in like that scene where it's like you see like his Johnny Walker, and you see like I think there's like a Coke can, and even in like the scenery in this like the city,
all the
like,
Atari.
I really like that where it's like it. Again, we keep joking about it's like 2019, the distant future, but I think having those brands, is it probably product placement? 100%. But I think it kind of helps ground a futuristic look into being like, oh no, this is possible. Look, there's Coca-Cola. Atari is different because Atari went out of business, but you know what I mean.
No, it paints it paints an atmosphere. Like it creates the world, and it helps like elevate it.
A realistic, potentially foreseeable atmosphere, as opposed to like a Star Wars where it's all these space bugs walking around and robots, where it's like this is like Coca-Cola, Atari. Again, is it product placement? Probably.
But it doesn't feel like an Adam Sandler film where it's like shoehorned in there because it's product placement that's supposed to be product placement.
It feels like, it'd be natural because it's a city.
Yeah, it's realistic. It's very visceral, and like I like that. I very much like the use to like the way that there's like this integration of like culture too, like where it's like Harrison Ford living in like little Japan, but it's like it never addresses that he's in any specific part of Los Angeles, but like he's just like in this rainy fish market, and then like in this kind of like area where there's like kids at the one point. I'm just gonna refer to them as Jawas, but they're like.
I'm pretty sure they're actually just little people.
Just little people? Okay, so like...
I'm pretty sure they're just little people.
They're just little people.
Children.
Okay.
You know, I think I wrote down somewhere, it's like, it's not a sci-fi movie if there's not little people in it.
That is very true. And
I apologize to any person who might be a little person.
Yeah.
Which also, I don't know what the right word to call them are.
LPs.
It's little people.
Yeah, LPs.
More derogatory. Like, oh, you're a little person. Anyway,
you're a small, yeah.
You're a small person. Sorry, I'll bring it back. I think a big thing when we were like in college arguing about the movie is you always were like, well, if these things die in like 6 days, why do they even bother trying to find them? And then I can't believe I feel like I've missed it, or it's just like you're just passive watching. They do say early on, it's like it'd be an embarrassment if they found out that like these replicants shot up a colony, stole a ship, fled the colony, and came back to Earth, and then did whatever else they did. So it would be like an embarrassment. It's like, yeah, they would die, but like, what are you supposed to do? Just let them run amok for 6 days?
I did catch that, and that was like very true, especially like with the way that like terrorism has heightened. And I guess this is like something that he predicted or like just guessed blindly and got correct. But like the way like terrorism like is taken nowadays, like that paranoia of like trying to keep something that could cause like literal mass hysteria, especially if like you have this ambiguous off-world colony where you don't understand the magnitude of the like on-Earth consequences and the off-Earth consequences. Like, I totally understand that. But here's the flaw in logic with that, too. If they stole a fucking ship, the ship has to come down to Earth. You're not saying there's one fucking ICBM that once they found out the ship was hijacked, they could have just fucking shot at it?
I think that's... Now you're, like, kind of extrapolating, like, what the sci-fi world would be. Where it's like, oh, it's Star Wars where you have to put in, like, the false code or else the Death Star will blast you out of space. Like, you know what I mean? Now it's like, you're trying to, like, put together what this futuristic world's Earth defense system would be.
Well, they had ICBMs in 1982. I know that. I just was like that. I just kind of was like, wait a minute. If they hijack this fucking shit, like, there's got to be a way that they have like a like they could honestly have just swarmed the ship, right? Or like, I mean, maybe it like.
I think it's that they revolt on colony, leave, and then they find out because they're trying to reach the colony and they everybody's dead.
I gotcha. Okay, like, and that makes more sense too, because they also don't give you the scale of like how far out into space they are.
Yeah, which is what I said. Like, they never in the original in 24/9, you never see off-world, and I
think that's dope too. Like,
I really like that. It makes you know, it's like, listen, it's a sci-fi futurist world, but everything out there doesn't matter. Anything that happens there doesn't matter. Unless you were to, like, in theory, connect Blade Runner to Alien, then you kind of see it. But again, that's a fan theory.
That is a very heavy fan theory, and a lot of like Ridley Scott is like a lot of his fans carry the bulk of like the actual heavy thinking when it comes to the logic of his films, which I just wanted to point because he's a crazy person, but he just like this is one of those ones where I don't care and like it's not that I don't like care enough about like the characters, but I do feel that like there's certain characters like, and I'm saving the main ones, obviously. Rucker Howard, this is like a life-changing performance for him. I don't think he would have had a career if it wasn't for this role. And like
I'd say he doesn't have much of a career after the role either.
He actually,
ragging on it, but like Rucker Howard is like Rucker Howard.
Yeah, like I looked it up. He did something recently that I saw actually, but he was in like a good amount of like stuff. It just like it never like reached that next level. And Harrison Ford already had built-in fans, so it was just people like it just I think it kind of overshadowed him. But I wasn't necessarily like I didn't hate anybody in this film, but I hated the disposability because there is like this preconceived notion, and this isn't like a logical flaw. It's just kind of like an opinion thing on me where like these characters have a finite amount of time that they're going to live. So their clock
you're told like within the first 20 minutes that they are probably dying in some way.
Right. And there's like like you have this ticking clock element, but it like opens up all of these possibilities where like these characters are like disposable in a sense. Like they're not necessarily like supposed like, but the one just goes back to working at her job. And like I was like I couldn't like I mean yeah I get it, they got to blend in until they kind of figure out the way to get to Tyrell, and like I guess like being a prostitute is kind of a good way to meet people.
I get what you're saying. She gets the job. I don't know if she was back to.
It was just yeah, like I was like, dude, I would just be like holding, like putting the fucking screws to people left and right, like going fucking full on gangster about this shit, because it seems like LA's got a lot of fucking other shit going on. Like you could, be relatively like impervious, like amongst like the chaos of a city, but like still kind of get to the bottom of things. Like where the building is. Like how hard is it to like follow someone home and kind of do what she did to the guy that's aging too quickly, which he's like the best character in the thing besides like the main. I think he's my favorite, the toy maker guy.
Like that.
The guy that they end up like.
No, why is that?
I like the juxtaposition. He's used as like a very pivotal thing where instead of them like doing this long exposition about what it means to be alive and what it means to like wow, I'm a robot that has emotion and sentience, like wow. They use this guy who has like a literal like condition where he has the same exact thing going on, and then not only that, he empathizes with them even though he kind of knows like he's being used, and he's kind of being like he's never going to have a human connection because these robots like take him seriously for what he is in like being a flawed, broken human being that just happens to have the ends of Tyrell. Like I think that's all like very neatly done. I think that like them going and getting jobs though just kind of was like stupid. Like we could have just gone with that plot line and maybe.
It's a little weird.
I think what I'm saying is like I just would have liked to have seen maybe all four of them like hanging out with this dude in his apartment and seeing where that could have been explored instead of like just two are already down off the bat, but the other two got the ends.
I guess like. Leon works at whatever factory, and then the other one works at a strip club. I don't think Daryl Hannah's character works anywhere. She's just kind of roaming the streets. Yeah. Like she's supposed to be like implied to be like a sex worker or something.
Or like just a transient, like.
Yeah. It's a little. I get what you're saying. Sorry, I was checking my notes. I had something to say, and I lost it.
It's all good.
I apologize. Kind of going back to like I kind of like the more I've watched it, where it's and you try to like understand character and character motivations. Like, do you think that like Rucker Howard or really any of the replicants are really the like quote unquote antagonists or villains? I feel like the more I watch it, I was like, I don't think the movie really has one. They're not bad.
I would say that this is a movie where there's this like I don't know if it's like a story writing thing or if it like I don't think it's like a definitive thing, but there's a film. You know how there's like the concept of like the Mexican standoff and like Fistful of Dollars and Good and Bad, the Ugly and stuff, where you're not really, there's no protagonist, there's just anti-heroes, and then there's like anti-heroes that kind of throughout they balance the scale in a way where it's like certain parts of the movie you kind of don't like Clint Eastwood, but ultimately he's the hero and the one that you like the anti-hero that you end up like liking the most for.
Yeah, and that's like
this. I feel.
Oh, sorry. No, I apologize.
I just feel that the replicants, they all kind of have this like like the same thing. Like you sympathize more with them.
Their goal is not aligned with Deckard, so they have there's the conflict, but they're not evil.
Yeah, they're just misunderstood.
Until like they fear for their lives, they never like. I'd say maybe Leon and I wrote it down somewhere. The stripper ones, I think Chell or something like that.
Chell, I think, yeah.
Like, I'd say they are the closest to me being, like, unhinged, and they kind of, when you think about it, it's like, oh, they're basically children. And if you look at it, like, these are created humans, maybe just coming to grip with, like, reality and their feelings and emotions. So Leon is very, like when he's being interviewed, he's like a dumb child. Yeah. Where it shows, like, oh, she gets angry. So, like, I'd say maybe that, like, they're not evil, though. Like, she's, like, maybe taking a little too much pleasure in, like, hurting him. But, like, doesn't, like, outwardly kill him. She runs away. And then only times, like, Leon tries to kill Deckard after he kills Chell. And then I'd say, like the closest thing to, like, an really evil moment is, like, when Rucker Howard's character is, like, kills Tyrell. Like, and again, it's out of, like, just a confusion of emotion and like scared, rage, anger and resentment. But like, it's not like he doesn't go out to kill the head of Tyrell. Like, he's going there. It's like, hey, like, what if you did this? What if you did that? What if you did this to like prevent me from dying? And then it's like it doesn't work. It's like, well, then why would you make me? So like, and then when they're fighting in like the fight, like the climax, he's clearly just fucking with Deckard. Like, he can literally kill him at any point. At any point in time, that he can kill him. But he's playing games with him because again, he's like, I think he says like now you know what it's like to live in fear. Like, I live like this always because I have a shelf life. I'm expendable. I am thrown out in like war on random planets. So I like that where it's like, again, I wrote something about like the dove in his hand, which I think is weird. He's just walking around with this fucking dove in his hand.
Oh yeah, that's
for a long time.
I mean,
like, I don't. You gonna let go of that bird, man? But like, at no point he's not like an evil character. He's not like he's the antagonist by default, I guess is what I'm getting at. So I really like that now that I've rewatched this movie so many times where I'm not trying to kill you, I'm trying to make you understand what I feel.
Yeah, it's that's like kind of an interesting take too, because frustration has always been a theme in this movie for me, at least, because it is frustrating at certain points. To me, to a detriment to you, like you contextualize it significantly better. You have more patience for it because you like appreciate it in a way that I just like. I now have I have a fresh take on it. I'm not like as resentful and bitter about having to watch it. Probably because I haven't had to watch it like every semester and just be like, God damn it, it's Blade Runner Day again. We gotta watch this bullshit. Like, all
right, you're a film major. Yeah, I gotta watch Blade Runner, kid.
That's pretty much it. Like, everybody's like, no, but the opening sequence, it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, it's tattooed on the back of my eyelids. But yeah, there's frustration is like definitely something that I feel is like maybe like not a theme, but like an underlying sensation of this movie, because the robots are frustrated, or the replicants are frustrated. Yeah, I see. I know. I corrected myself.
Not robots, Joe.
Not wobots.
They have feelings.
They do have feelings.
They got fifis.
Yeah, they do. You can use them as manual labor all day, and then bring them home and woo them like you're, a real lady in the sheets. But the frustration is like them not being able to like live longer than their shelf life and that ticking clock element. But then the frustration of like not only Deckard having to be like thrust back into his old job and the frustration he feels from that, but like, do you notice that he gets beat up like by robots throughout this movie? Like, beyond, like, and he's just fine. Like, he's he's getting his face smashed into the side of a fucking brick wall and like through a glass window, and then he's just got like a small scratch on his nose. And I'm like,
he emotes it when he's back at his apartment.
He does.
He's trying to drink and he like passes the fuck out.
Yeah, he's like doing that thing over the bathtub where he's
going back to the whole, is he a replicant? Like Rachel asked, was like, have you ever taken that test yourself? And he passes out. And now it's used to be like, have you ever taken it yourself? And I think it's supposed to be more like, she asks him early on, it's like, have you ever, I think they say retire is the term, like, have you ever retired a human by accident?
Yeah. So
it's like, I think in the context of the original version, it's like, have you ever taken it? Like, how do you know, like, what would it, if you're a human, like, what would it show you? Like, how would I give you a different result than you would give?
Yeah, but then
being redundant now.
No. You make it. You make a very valid point, and that complements it because it's like that. It adds to the frustration of this. Is like she's frustrated with him. He's frustrated with his situation and he's physically frustrated because of like being physically outfoxed by these guys, and him like now having the urgency of their ticking clock and their escalation of like desperation and whatnot is definitely a thing. And it's like I think that is like a theme where I internalized a lot of that frustration with this film a lot more when I was younger. Now, like, I kind of get, maybe like because you're not watching it for the right reasons, stupid. Like the frustration is supposed to be an element of this, like not like an overarching theme, or like it's not like as obvious as like the the symbolism of like being a human versus being something synthetic it's there though.
The frustration with your situation is and there's nothing you can do about it, or might be, but it's futile.
There's the futility of like trying and like also even if like regardless of the replicant / human Deckard, like now he does understand that his life, even though it's a lot longer than these replicants, he has to start living for something, which I would kind of like. I'm happy that they didn't in 2049 like go too much into his backstory with like they did.
It's unimportant.
Yeah, exactly, but like it's one of those things where it's like it kind of leaves it to the imagination, where you wonder like, did he continue doing this? Did he continue just like trying to at least live in society? I guess that he has like some interplay with Rachel, obviously, because that's an element in it of like mildly, but he like it leaves it to the imagination of like, now how did he even end up in this like in the middle of Las Vegas, like in like doing literally nothing and like probably not eating or sustaining himself. Like, you know, other than just getting hammered in
Vegas, apparently.
Yeah, so I've just watched.
Doesn't go bad.
Yeah, no, not at all. They keep all the food in a big safe that they try to crack open in that
he
fucking.
He just hangs out there for 30 years, and he's like, I just keep finding food.
I just keep finding Kansas tuna fish. I mean,
yeah.
It would be funny.
Well, they do show like he's making honey. I think. He learns how to like harvest bees. Apparently, you can sustain off honey.
That's true. Yeah, I mean that's a thing. It's I mean he probably
apparently
and eating bees, like he's making
space bees.
That's
where the sci-fi comes in, Joe. It's futuristic space bees.
That's just a Futurama episode, honestly. It's the fucking royal jelly. There we go. You gotta keep shaking my butts for these stupid jerks. Yeah, man, we're at an hour. I think that this ended up pretty fucking good. Like, this was a lot of fun.
It's up to you. Stop whenever you want to stop, man.
No, we're good. This has been a lot of fun. Mark, do you have anything to plug? Yeah, like you doing anything podcast wise?
No, I should, but I really don't have time.
Because you're beating up children at work?
Yeah. No. Maybe in the future we'll have something to do. Plug, we'll see. Testing some waters on things. I don't have anything to plug. I'm setting the seeds in case something does happen.
Mark's sowing the seeds for his big debut as a Magic the Gathering live streamer on Facebook.
Listen, I thought about it. My buddy's girlfriend does it, and sometimes it goes well, and they ask her to do stuff. I'm in an eBay ad, Joe.
Oh, you're in an eBay.
I did an eBay ad.
An eBay ad.
Sort of.
Okay. How do we do an eBay ad?
Like, how do you find my eBay ad?
Yes.
Say eBay 5 times around your phone, so Jeff Bezos and who runs Apple now.
Steve Jobs' ghost.
Yeah, Steve Jobs' ghost and Bill Gates, and the algorithm picks up you saying eBay. And then when you go on Instagram, you get an eBay targeted ad, and you'll see my dumbass.
What are you doing in it?
I'm looking at cards.
Oh.
In a binder, and I go,
Did you have to film?
How much do you think this is worth?
Did you film this yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
So we had an ad. We had 2. And then they didn't we went with a very self-aware, do you have this bad? And it's you know what I mean? Like one of those really stupid ones where it's white people spilling potatoes all over the floor because they don't just hand them with their hands. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like a Billy Mays commercial, but the black and white part of it.
Yeah, so they sent an email back it's too much of a commercial. We want natural. And we were just reading it they want hey, what are you doing? Oh, they want it's a not ad, but it's so fake it is an ad.
Okay.
But they're corpos, so in their mind that's better, as opposed to it being a really self-aware ad. So we reshot it, and I'm just dipshit looking at a bunch of cards.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I haven't seen mine yet. I saw the other one we did where I'm not in it. I helped film. And they're already shitting on it. Super nerds were shitting on it, being it's pointing to a dish and it's not even a that.
Oh, fuck.
We're yeah. I was well, okay. right.
You come talk to eBay for me and tell me what I should be.
Yeah, you know what? Go tell eBay. They'll fucking really care about what your comment, buddy.
Oh fuck! All right, I'm definitely gonna try and find this.
Just like I said, just say eBay around your phone. It works.
Okay.
Your phone's always listening, Joe.
Dude, yeah, we I gotta plug this because now allegedly, we have followers, so I gotta put this on my personal page, but I have to plug it. But dude, we got like 300 something followers on our Insta for the Blacktooth podcast, and then we're up to.
Is that not this?
Nah, this is I don't even think I have a name for it, but I think that I always put movies you buy. But this is my thing. I just try to do this like every couple of days to stay like, you know, regular on mics, so that I kind of am like aware of like how to talk and like continue a stream of thought without like completely going off the rails and shit. But this is just mine, and then now we have a separate page for that. But Jake told me I should always be plugging Blacktooth. So Blacktooth podcast on YouTube, like, subscribe, fucking kiss my black dago ass. I don't fucking care. But yeah. You gotta come on to fucking Blacktooth one of these days though, so that we can we can interview you, and we're gonna tell fucking 109 stories and like Nassau Suffolk stories.
Whenever, well, not whenever, but almost whenever. Like,
right on. I'll give you a heads up.
Yeah, that's whenever. When I say whatever, it's like, hey, why don't you give me like a month's advance?
Yeah, I got you.
I'll be like, all right, cool, set it up.
Oh shit! I gotta do this on my Cancun vacation.
Is that me? I'm sorry. Was that in your cans? That little.
Oh yeah, that's me. 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 Yeah, that's me.